Blah, y'all already know what it is. Your boy Yaakov, what it do? The outlet to reality, the holdest podcast in Vegas and Chicago. What up? This is the place where you want to hide from your drama or maybe hide from your baby mama. Just kidding. But anyways, fans, thank you for staying tuned. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Cha-ching! And today we have a very, very special guest, one of my guys, my homie, my brother. Shalom, shalom. Give it to my boy, Avi. What's up, brother?
Hey Yaakov, what's going on? Thank you so much for having me on.
I had to, brother. You understand, man. I got to say, man, for my fans out there who don't know, this man right here, I 100% believe he has an old soul. Like, this guy got knowledge. So I'm trying to pick at his brain and steal it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
I'm I'm here to share some of my brain with you. Don't worry about it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And for those who don't know, I'm gonna share a quick story how I met Avi. So pretty much it was a Purim get together at H Israel. It's a nice shul, and it was my first time ever going, right? And so I get there, we had music, we had barbecue, DJ, everything you need, we had it. And we had liquor too, if y'all didn't know. And for those who don't know, Purim or Purim is a very big Jewish holiday where we read the story of the Megillah, which is a story of Esther or Esti. And it's a very beautiful thing because it's kind of like the beauty pageant where she wins, and basically saves the Jewish people, which is a blessing. And it's nice because this holiday we get to I ain't gonna lie, we get to drink. And I'm gonna be honest, your boy didn't drink. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't drink. And I'll tell you why. So my one of my friends who was there who invited me to the shul, Michael, he was like, man, I'm gonna be honest, brother. You want to take a shot? And I'm like, I can't. And he goes, well, I'm gonna share a little story on what I think that you might like is from the Gemara. I was like, yeah, man, share it, share. I'm willing to take anything. And he says, there's some times where it says that people drink to have like that spark of happiness. And I'm not saying to get drunk, but he said that sometimes some people don't need it. And he said, what I seen in you is that you don't need liquor to be happy or have that spark. You already have it all the time. And I thought that was really nice because it's true sometimes, and I believe this 100%. You don't need liquor to be happy. It's like the moment, but you don't really need it. And then my boy Javi, I gotta be honest, Avi was cooking in the grill. My boy, man, he was sweating, man. He was playing. My boy fed like 100 people, guaranteed. Like he was, man, he was breaking it down. That chicken was fire. And I ain't gonna lie, man. My boy had everything under control. I mean, some people were getting impatient, but my brother, he kept it cool. He's like, I got this. And when I saw him finally eating after 3 or 4 hours after cooking, my boy was sitting down by himself. I'm like, man, this brother looks Latino. Let me go up to him and, talk to him. So I went up and I was like, yo, what's up, man? You another brother, you know what I'm saying? And he started laughing. And when the music was so loud. So when he was talking, I thought it was Javier, like Javi. That's why I thought Spanish, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is my brother I've been looking for. And then I found out it was Avi, and I was like, okay, brother, And one of the most humblest people I've ever met. I'm very grateful to meet you, brother. And I want you to share a little bit. What was your first impression meeting me?
Yeah, no. So I'm glad that I got to hear that side of the story. So I get there. They asked me if I could run the grill. I worked at a local kosher restaurant for 6 months, part-time manager, mashgiach, kosher supervisor. So I have knowledge working a grill, working, feeding hundreds of people a day. So they offered me the job. I was like, sure, no problem. 3 hours just cooking nonstop. I sit down, I'm eating, and all of a sudden, like behind me on my left, this guy pops out and he like smiling, big smile, all those pearly whites showing. Hey, what's up? I'm like, hey, I'm exhausted. So I'm like, not as energetic as usual. And then all of a sudden, your energy just like poured out, and it definitely energized me. Um, I'm going to be honest with you. Our conversation that we had definitely changed the way that I thought. Because like you walked by, and I'm like, seems a little bit out of place. I'm not going to lie. And then you started talking. And I'm like, no, this is right where he has to be. This is right where it was like meant to be. I'm so glad that I met you. And really, your communication skills were just phenomenal. Like I was shocked. Someone that could just flow and just have a conversation. I don't know very many people that could do that.
Wow, thank you, brother. Thank you. The things you do, and we're gonna get to my brother. I want to ask you a little bit, like a little background, so you can tell us and tell our fans. Tell us a little bit about, like, are you born and raised in Vegas? What are your hobbies? And if there's any book you've been reading.
So yeah, so I was born in Manhattan, in New York. When I was 2.5, my family moved to the Midwest, to Minnesota, South Dakota, and then we moved to Los Angeles when I was 5.5. I lived there until I was 14. Moved out to Vegas, and I'd been coming back and forth to Vegas all my life. My grandparents lived here, so familiar with the Chabad that's over here in the area. But we moved here in the summer of 2018. Um, Weather is nice. Prices were a lot lower than LA, and just that's what led us to Vegas. And ever since I spent 8th grade in the yeshiva here, Desert Torah Academy. And now for high school, I've been at the Adelson Educational Campus. Um, and over there, it's a Jewish school, uh, and they cater to a bunch of different people. So non-Jews as well, mainly secular Jews. And so one of the places that I found to be uh, a home away from home is NCSY. NCSY is a local Jewish youth outreach program, and it creates this sort of environment for Jewish teens in high school that don't have a Jewish social environment. And I immediately fell in love with it. And now I'm the current president of the chapter board. And I love that. That's probably the biggest thing that I've done, my biggest hobby. And so one thing we did speak about on Purim, our conversation eventually led to this book. It's called The Kuzari. I don't know if you could see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Kuzari, Arguments in Defense of Judaism by Rabbi Yehuda Halevi. It's an incredible philosophical book about a king, the Kuzari, the king of the Khazar people, having an argument with a rabbi. He first brings in a philosopher to debate God and how to act in the ways of God. Then he spoke to a Christian. Then he spoke to a Muslim theologian. And eventually he got to the rabbi. And so that's most of the book. It's just a back and forth between the king and the rabbi. And it's so interesting to hear these complex arguments. Like sometimes you got to read a sentence twice or more than twice because there's so much in these 7 words. And I really encourage anybody, especially Jewish, but just anybody interested in argument, debate, and interested in the Jewish people, Judaism, and our ways. This is definitely a phenomenal book to read.
I definitely gotta check it out, man. Because when you told me this story about the king, and it's kind of like he asking three wise people, you know, basically what's right, you know what I'm saying, and or who got the right idea, you know. So I like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and I feel like in life we do find different teachers that help us become the person we are in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like I have so many teachers. So I didn't grow up with a father, but the people
mm,
that became part of my life became like a part of my father figure. So I had one of my Sifu who's an Orthodox Jew, um and he basically took me under his wing and helped me study my ACT so I can go to college. He, you know, taught me martial arts. He introduced me to big politicians in Chicago, and helped me like to get myself out there. And I'm always grateful for him. And I have other, of course, other different teachers. I have a spiritual teacher as well. So I feel like we need that in our life to always ask questions, go to your mentor, and always don't be afraid to ask, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's great that you read that book. Did you finish it, the whole thing?
no, I'm on my fourth go of it. I'm about 100 pages in. Um, and again, these like it's blocked. So the Kuzari says the king says one thing, there's an answer, and then they go back and forth, and it's very very deep, and so it takes time for the information to sink in. Um, I'm it's my fourth time trying to get through it. The first few times skimmed through it just to get the general idea, but now I'm really trying to dissect each point because it really is just mind blowing information.
Wow, brother. No, that's great, man. And I'm proud of you for being the president of that organization that you were sharing, man. You got a lot of power. I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
And that's great, man. I think it's any way to do any outreach to help communities, I think is great because that's helping people that are whether they be lost, right, or searching for something. This can help them get back on track, which is really great, man. I'm gonna be honest. Like me, myself, I'm still trying to, my whole life I was very religious. I'm gonna be real with you, brother. I was very religious until things happen where my schedule has changed, where I have to work on Shabbat. It breaks my heart, man. I'm not gonna lie. It definitely took a toll on me. One of my closest rabbis, who was my best friend as well, passed away, and a lot of things have been really hard for me with my faith. I think I know it's a test that Hashem has put for me, so I can get out of that and to overcome something great. And when I hear you, man, doing what you're doing, still being religious, it's so inspiring, man. Because I know eventually I'm gonna be back on track. Like the time is coming, and even though I'm using this platform as a way to reach out to my Jewish brothers, to my non-Jewish fellow friends, at the same time, I'm using this platform to share, Judaism and faith. So I feel like I'm still using it for the good. I'm not using it for
Yeah.
dumb things. But definitely, Avi, I want to ask you something really interesting. So you were telling me that one of your parents was Sephardi, and I think your mom is Ashkenaz, right?
Yeah.
So how was it growing up with two different customs, right? How were you able to balance it? Like I know there's got to be some customs that you're like, but I like rice, but you say pesach, but
Yeah. 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 So So the way that it was growing up, so my dad grew up in an Israeli traditional home. So that means that they would have Erev Shabbat, Friday night uh, uh, dinner and stuff like that. They would go to shul. They went to Jewish school. They went to synagogue on the high holidays, on Passover, um, but they weren't religious in most of the other aspects of life. They had bar mitzvah and stuff, but my dad eventually made his way to New York and decided to become more religious. So he became more religious. He came back to observance with a program, which I'm blanking on the name right now, but Ashkenazi program. So he learned the prayers, the melodies, all of that Ashkenazi. So, and obviously my mother is Ashkenazi. So I was raised doing praying Ashkenazi, going to Ashkenazi shuls. My bar mitzvah, I read the Torah Ashkenazi, but there are just some things that my dad grew up with traditionally that are Sephardic. I wrap my tefillin, the phylacteries, Sephardic. We eat kitniot on Passover, rice and other grains that Ashkenazi people don't. In Jewish law and halacha, the traditions generally go based on the father. So we go Sephardic. But yeah, growing up, I had both. We'd have very, very, very Middle Eastern stuff, spicy stuff, madbucha, schug, all that kind of stuff. And then we'd have gefilte fish from time to time. Like just this balance of, I wouldn't suggest mixing the two, but not a great combination. But it was an interesting balance, and especially growing up, having friends that were Ashkenazi and Sephardic, they obviously understood both, but there were some people that couldn't comprehend being the other. It's like it almost factions grew in Judaism. You had the Sephardic people and the Ashkenazi people, then you had Moroccan people and Tunisian people and Yemenite people and French people and American and Israeli and all these different tribes. It became a very separated lifestyle, and so I get made fun of by the Sephardic people for doing certain things Ashkenazi, and vice versa. The Ashkenazi people would make fun of the Sephardic stuff, and so it was just an interesting way of finding a balance and being exposed to the fact that Judaism is unfortunately is not one big happy family. What's happened over the years is just groups have formed based on different customs, and it have your own customs. Like that's the point, tradition, right? But to go out and be against, or to go out and make fun of other customs is something that I think has become a problem in the Jewish community.
Wow. And that's a good point, brother. I'm gonna be honest, because even if you think about it, I mean, I'm only speaking of Chicago, right? I don't know all Vegas like that. You know more than Vegas, I'll be honest. But in Chicago, it's very segregated. Like you go to an Orthodox shul, it's all European Jews. You go to and this Sephardic shul, my bad. It's only like Israeli or Hispanic people in one, shul. Is not really a lot of intertwine when they daven, when they pray. And I don't know if Vegas is like that. Is Vegas like that too, brother?
So in Vegas, there are different communities, but the major community is the Chabad community. And Chabad is known for being open doors. Anyone come in. You're Jewish, will have you. They go based on their traditions, based on their customs. From the Lubavitcher Rebbe, uh, their rabbi, that's how they run their organization based on his teachings and his customs. But they're open to everyone.
Mm,
That's the biggest community in Vegas.
wow. I'm gonna share with you a quick story, brother. So me going to it ties in a lot with when it came down when you were saying a little bit about bullying and a lot of things. So I went to a shul in Chicago at the age of 12, right? I've been doing Shabbat for a long time with my mom, even my grandma going back visiting her in Guatemala. She would do the Shabbat. When I went to one shul that one of my family members knew somebody from the shul, um, I ain't gonna lie, brother, I got kicked out. Broke my heart. And the thing is, I was the only Hispanic going to that shul. It was mostly European. But eventually I started to bring more of my family into that shul. And now you're not gonna believe it. They consider me, not to brag, but they consider me like a pioneer. Like I brought a bunch of Jewish people, well, Hispanics, especially Hispanics, Guatemalan, Colombian, Mexican, coming
Wow.
to that shul. You're not gonna believe it. My family didn't have a problem. My family, because it's me, they finally, accepted me. They're like, oh, he's a brother. Bring your mom, bring your cousin, you're good. But everybody else I brought, they weren't Jewish. They had to all convert. And it's crazy. I didn't tell them to convert. I just like, they were looking for a place to pray. And I was like, man, look, I know this wonderful shul. You know what I'm saying? We got a bunch of old people, but they're really cool. You're gonna like it, and you have me if you need me to translate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's so cool because now, brother, you're not gonna believe this. You know that, and we're talking when I was 12 or 11. Now
Wow.
the shul, you're not gonna believe it. It's now one of the most diverse shuls in Chicago. It's 60% now all Hispanics.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nice. And you know what I really like, brother, is that when we do for those who don't know, we do the mourners Kaddish. It's a prayer that we say, but we have to have a quorum, right? A minion to do it. I like that we have somebody in the Ashkenaz to say it, a Sephardi. You're gonna love this, brother. We have Hasidic Jews there now, and they do the mourners Kaddish, and it's so nice because you get three different versions. It's the same in Hebrew, right? But it's a different melody.
Yeah.
Remember going back to melody.
Yeah. And
Eh,
the Sephardic people add a little bit in the middle too. So
yeah, you see, you even know, you see. So it's nice to hear all three, and I'm very happy, man. I'm so happy that I left there with a good like a movement.
that's awesome. Yeah, no, I back to what you said about like the different synagogues. The European Jews have this one, and the Sephardic Jews have this one, and the Hasidic Jews have their shul. I think that logically makes sense. Each faction, each group, each tribe, if you will, has its own traditions, customs, melodies. So it just makes sense that they will go together. The less Jews there are in an area, the easier it is for there to be a diverse synagogue. I think that it makes sense for a place with a larger population of Jews, Los Angeles, New York, different places. I think it makes sense to have those different shuls. I just what is mind-boggling is the hatred or the animosity that there is within between each group, and so like it's incredible that you were able to somehow overcome that, and not just overcome it, but really start something huge for that synagogue.
Thank you, bud. Yeah, it's shocking, man. I think Hashem, he put me there for a reason. I don't know what's the reason, but he put me there. And the rabbi called me one day, my closest friend, one of my closest friends, answers, he called me like maybe 2 weeks ago. We were talking on the phone, and he said, David, Yaakov, right? Yaakov, I can't believe I'm not even Hispanic. I got so many Hispanics in my show. You know what I'm saying? He's like, man, I don't know what you did, but dang, I got so many. And I said, look, brother, it's a good thing. The rabbi does predict that in the future of that shul, it would be all Hispanic. That's his theory. That in the
Wow.
future it's gonna completely change. And I think it's good for change. I think honestly, if we look at us, we're waiting for the Mashiach to come. I do believe that when the time comes and he's building the Beis Hamikdash, right? We're having our temple rebuilt. We're gonna have everybody, no matter what background you're from, Sephardi, Ashkenaz, Ethiopian, Moroccan, whatever, we're going to come together and pray. We're going to come together as one. And I think that's what, and if you think about it, the prayer Shema Yisrael, that prayer, if you think about it, it's all about unison. We are one. We follow
Yeah.
one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. What you said kind of reminds me of it's a well-known joke. Two Jews are stranded on an island. A week later, there are different versions of it, so I might say it differently than you might have heard. A week later, this team comes to rescue them. They show up. They find three structures on the island. They ask the two Jews, what did you guys build? So the first one says, this is my synagogue. The second one says, this is my synagogue. They won't go into each other's synagogue. So they ask, okay, fine, we understand that. But what's the third one? That's the one neither of us will go to. So I feel like that's how, like, like today we have this ideology that we have to be within our own sect, within our own people with similar customs. And you said it beautifully. When Mashiach comes, we will be united again, and with the third temple, that we'll all be together in that one place that we can all agree on.
We have to start acting now, because he's gonna look at that and say, well, what are you guys doing? We gotta stick together. We gotta bring people together. I also think too, something I have to share, brother. I share with you when we were eating together. Well, we were talking together. I was eating, but you were eating.
Yeah.
One thing that going back to Purim, right? Me being dark, I'm gonna be honest. It doesn't have to do with color, right? But in my case, one scenario where I was being discriminated just because the way I look, right? I didn't have cute green, blue, puppy eyes and blonde hair, looking fresh, tall, 6'3", with a white shirt and the button down and the black pants. I a story for everybody to hear, because this is a true story right here. What we talking about is real. When I was invited to hear the Megillah, where they read the story of Esther. One of my good friends, Daniel, he invited me to come, right? It's a nice yeshiva in Chicago. I was like, okay, cool. I get there, and I said this previously. I don't know if I said this in the podcast, but there was like 3 or 4 guys, young, in their 20s or 19-year-olds. And I was like wearing my military outfit, and I had a kippah, right? And I come in, and at that time, I'll be real, my PO was a little longer. But still, when I got there, the guys gave me a hard time. They're like, we can't let you in. I think you in the wrong spot. And I'm like,
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, we're both brothers, I'm just a little different. You know what I'm saying? They're like, nah, man, you gotta go. And I was like, come on, man. And I'm gonna be honest, luckily I know martial arts, so I ain't scared, but I ain't trying to, be in channel 9, you know what I'm saying? One thing we learn in martial arts is what Bruce Lee said in his movie, it's fighting without fighting. That's the secret. You don't want to get yourself in situations that's not necessary, right? So I was like, look, man, I don't want to have no problems, but I need to go there. They're about to read the Megillah. I can't miss it. My friends waiting for me. I even gave the guys my friend's last name, thinking they know each other. So they start arguing with me, went back and forth. And the crazy thing, the rabbi of the shul, of the yeshiva, comes out of nowhere. And he goes, what are you doing? Let him in. He wants to read and listen to the Megillah. Let him in. And so the students were shocked and they stepped away. They put their head down because they felt embarrassed. They said, sorry, Rabbi. So I was able to walk in, and the Rabbi pulled me aside to his office and he said to me, you know, I'm embarrassed what happened today. I'm embarrassed from my students that they didn't allow you to come in and you had good intentions, you know. I would have let you in. You know, everybody's dressed up. You know, you know, some of us are not. I'm dressed up too. I'm not wearing, you know, all white and black pants. And I said, Rabbi, and he said, sorry. What's your name? And I said, David, you know, Yaakov. He goes, I'm sorry that you had to experience that. You know, feel free if you need anything, let me know. And I said, Rabbi, I'm gonna be honest. I'm so grateful that you stepped in. You didn't like just watch and stare and went on your day. You actually took the initiative. You know, I'm a leader. I'm a rabbi. I have to, you know, be the leader. And you stepped up and you actually helped the situation where both parties didn't get mad at each other. You fixed it to the point where everything was solved. And I told Rabbi, you know, Rabbi, I'm gonna be honest. This ain't the first time I got discriminated. And he's like, oh, for real? Like he gave me that look, for real? Like here in Vegas, right? I met somebody who was Jewish and they noticed my name was, you know, Yaakov, right? That's my Hebrew name. And they gave me that look like, oh, you're Jewish? I'm like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know, I answered back. They're like, I didn't know Mexicans can be Jewish. Really? You know what I'm saying? Really? So I'm telling you, brother, I'm not surprised. That's why it's very important for other, you know, other communities that are Jewish to get involved with each other somehow, whether it's an event, whether it's an outreach program, so both of them can learn about each other's customs, even though they know the basic, but learn about each other background so you won't have any more stereotypes, right? And the biggest one in the media, I'm gonna be real. I blame the media. I don't blame any of my Jewish brothers and sisters. The media only depicts European Jews. You got Seth Rogen, James Franco. You think right away, Jewish. You don't think no Hispanic or Israeli right away. You think like a European Jew or white Jew, right? I think.
Yeah, like
Right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, like five towns, like New York, black hat, ultra orthodox, or the secular Hollywood. That's usually how it's depicted in American media. I personally think that that's because Jewish population in the United States, I think most of them are European, simply because what happened in Europe, the Holocaust, and then just the mass immigration before and especially after the Holocaust. They were all refugees. I think that's the biggest reason why the focus is a lot on the European Jews in the media. But I agree, like they definitely get, that's usually what people think of when they hear Jew.
Yeah. And I think there should be a program. I got a great idea. I don't know if it is one. I think it's a genius idea. I think it would be great to have another, you know how we have Birthright? For those who
Yeah,
don't know, Birthright is one of the greatest programs of all time, where if you're Jewish, you are able to go to Israel and experience a wonderful, you know, country, a wonderful people, food, like every I think everyone should take a trip if they can to go. But here's my other one. So you know how we got birthright, right? I got this one. You ready for this? They should make one called Inter Birthright. That's what I'm gonna call it. And
Okay.
basically it means that you have to dedicate 1 month or 2 weeks to travel in one place in Latin America or in Africa and stay with a bunch of Jewish families and experience that. I think that would be a great program because that would not only would you learn the culture, you'll learn some of the language, and you will learn, like I said, the tradition and the history that you won't really read from books. I'm gonna be honest, books can teach you a lot, but actually living it and seeing it for yourself would definitely bring more of awareness, my opinion. What do you think, brother?
Yeah, no, absolutely. What you said about books makes sense. I heard a podcast earlier. They were talking about the same thing. Like, um, they were talking about how they reacted to a video of middle schoolers having a debate, and they were like blown away by how these middle schoolers are talking like adults. Like when they were middle schoolers, they were talking about Pokemon and baseball cards. They didn't care about uh, what they were these other subjects. But what one of them said, very good point. They might have knowledge, like they might have the concepts in their head, but they don't have the experience. They don't know what they can conceptualize in their mind what it means to pay taxes, but they've never had to actually pay a bill. They've never had to uh, they might not have encountered, as you have, discrimination, so they can only uh, imagine what that is. They can't actually discuss it from a perspective of experience. So yeah, his point was books and pictures and Google and YouTube and TikTok, whatever, can show you phenomenal things, but actually living the experience is is vastly more important than reading about it.
Yeah, 100%. And think about it, our ancestors, right? The Hakimins, right? The sages, our own sages back in the days, they all were great storytellers. And in order to capture people's attention, you gotta give a good story. You know what I'm saying? You can't give me no. All right, guys, that's great. That was great. That was great, guys. That's great. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You gotta
Yeah.
sell me a story or tell me something. And I think that's the best part of our sages back in the day. They share stories that they knew will be passed down for generation. And that's the only way we grow. Like even today, for me, like I love telling stories. I'd rather tell you a story than make you read a book. You know what I'm saying? But here's my thing. We'll have a conversation, we'll have a little debate. But if we do talk about a book, I'd rather have both of us read the same book and then share our point of view about the book.
Exactly, like a book club. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that I'm going to add to your genius inter-birthright program. So not only go on these things, do research beforehand, learn about the different programs. Maybe you can choose the different trips that you want to take. If you want to learn about Beta Israel in Ethiopia, if you want to go travel to South Africa, if you want to go to Morocco, if you want to go to Yemen, um, pick a place that you want to go to. First, read a little bit about it, do some research, meet up with your group, discuss it, do like a before and after type of discussion. So like the before, what do you think? How is this going to go? What are your initial thoughts about the place? Go experience it, and then come back and revisit those points. I think that if you can get that started, I think that would be very, very good.
Thank you, brother. That'd be a movement, man. I'm telling you, brother. I'm gonna change history. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm
Into
saying?
birthright, let's go.
Let's go, man. Oh man, I'm so happy, brother. No, this was really good, man. I'm really happy. We got to talk, we got to share. I'm really, like I said, man, I'm very grateful I met you. It's very inspiring, to learn from you, and I feel like we can learn from everyone. And one of the last questions I have to share, I think it'll be great. You already know what I shared last time, but I want my fans to hear a little bit. This is the trivia question of all time. But it is. Do you believe, dun, 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 that everyone has a soul from Hashem?
Okay.
I had to bring it. I'm sorry, I had to bring it.
I know. Look, what we spoke about, we can go on for hours and hours. There were a couple of points actually. We'll talk. We'll talk. But this question in particular, we did discuss. I do think that everybody has a soul. I do believe that everybody has. Um, Everyone is innately good. Everyone has the power to do both good and evil, but we're human beings are inherently good. Um, and the reason that we are inherently good is because we all have an element of divinity. We are all created by God, right? Jews have an elevated soul. We are taught that we are the chosen people. We are taught that we are God's special people that he picked. And even with all the persecution that's happened, we're still here. There's a friend of mine, she actually happens to not be Jewish. She told me, I'm not sure if this is historically accurate, but she told me a joke. She said, Frederick the Great of Russia, no, Prussia. He was the ruler of Prussia, and he asked one of his advisors. He said, "Tell me, what is the greatest proof of God, of God's existence?" And the man replied, "The Jews, sir, the Jews," meaning we have survived thousands of years of constant persecution. In almost every century, there's been someone else, another foe, someone else coming from behind us, attacking us, a genocide here, an exposition here, an invasion here, and it's been happening throughout history, and we're still here, we're thriving, thank God, and we've just grown so much, even with all the turmoil that we have inside within the Jewish community. We've managed to overcome all that and become a very small but very great nation. And I think that is because we are God's chosen people. And that means that everyone has a soul, but the Jews have a special elevated soul. That's my short answer.
I tell you guys, see, this is my brother that I love to debate. I love my brother. You know what I'm saying? So look, me growing up, I always say this. One of my good friends, my best friends, we always there's a saying that we always say when I have it on my podcast. Torah teaches Torah. So when I, I'm gonna be honest, in the Torah it does talk about Bnei Israel being the chosen people. It's been said so many times in the Torah. Now, for me, now in generations, speaking a couple years, 100 years later. Now, my thing is very interesting. I have a very interesting theory. I do believe somehow people that weren't Jewish, their soul is special too, and I'll say why. I'll tell you why before you hit me with the right hook. Because the best example I can give is Yitro, right? Yitro is a guy who actually has his own parsha in the Torah, for those who don't know, Yitro was a high priest for the Medea, and he left his old ways to follow Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, and he helped Moses to realize. He taught him a lot of good things, and it's so cool that in the Torah, like I said, the portion of the Torah, it's called Yitro, like it's about Yitro, which is, I think, is so inspiring, because he's not Jewish, by birth. Like he was somebody outside of the community, and he got involved and became a great person, right? And so that's like one story, right? Here's my other one. My other favorite one of the greatest rabbis of all time. He is my favorite, and you already know what I'm about to say. Is Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, for those who don't know, he wasn't born Jewish. Interesting fact: at the age of 40, he learned Hebrew. He did convert. His commentaries to this day are very influential. He is throughout the Gemara. When you study, when you go in this shiva, you hear about Rabbi Akiva's, like, his input. He had his own disciples, and to know that this man who was not Jewish, right, and became a big inspiration in them, and I feel like his ideas were still to this day, it's very inspiring. And now, I ain't gonna lie, we don't have somebody like that. Back in the days, I feel like they were just more wiser. But to have him in there, and he ain't Jewish by birth, like I said, brother, he got the soul, but his soul, what I'm saying, it's no, you know what I'm saying? It's just, it got big. I feel like some reason, I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe this is my theory. My theory is some reason Hashem is finding people that are not Jewish. They have a special place. Like I told you, the blue pill and the red pill, like the Matrix, they have the opportunity to grow and become this gray Sadiq, this big righteous person. They have, like you said, they have free will like us. They have the opportunity to follow the Yishara or the Yishatov, right? The good inclination or the bad. So I feel now, this is my opinion, brother. This is my opinion. Might be wrong, but now I think my brothers that are not Jewish, they got a special soul too. It's like they have a mission that we may not understand, or a purpose, but they're special in their own way. And I think, and don't get me wrong, brother, we are special too. We look fresh. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? We look good. I don't this man. I got all these girls waiting. I'm like, hey, take it easy. I can't. I ain't married, okay? I ain't married. You know what I'm saying? But honestly, that's my opinion. I think that's just doing my little research. That's how I see it. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I agree with that. I'm gonna clarify something. What I meant by what I said before, it's not to say, God forbid, that our non-Jewish fellow brothers and sisters, that they are different, or that they have lesser value, or that they are not equal to us. They are human beings too. They are people too. They're just as special and equal in different ways. I think that we consider value as the idea that everyone has to be this. When equal value means everyone has to be the same, has to have the same strengths, weaknesses. Everyone has to be the same. But then you have no diversity, of nobody that's unique. You have nothing that makes people different. I think that value can be defined as people are different. People might be better in this field and might be better in this area, and people that are not as good in this place and not as good in another place. But it doesn't make them any less valuable. It just makes them special and different. So that first, just clarifying, non-Jewish people are obviously uh, created by God, and they were created uh, as human beings, as equal to us. Yes, they have a special soul. Everyone has a special soul because everybody is different. But what you said about, I actually agree with your analogy, the Matrix analogy, and I'll explain. What you mean by that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Jewish people are already living in the existence where they see the matrix, right? We're already in that reality, and the non-Jewish people can make that choice either to stay in their own reality or to become part of the matrix, right? That's what you mean by that.
Whoa, that was so dope. I like that. That's what yeah, that's that's
So
what
that's
I'm
what you
saying.
mean.
That's what
So
I'm
I agree with that, and let me explain why. And I think this is, you mean it in a different way. This is how I mean it. The Jewish conversion, Judaism is not a missionary religion. We don't go out and try to convert people because we believe we are the chosen people, and also who wants to have 7 fast days and who wants to be the persecuted people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're not, our marketing when it comes to conversion isn't the greatest. Christianity, you proclaim Jesus as the Lord. In Islam, you say Muhammad is the final prophet of Allah, and that's it. You're part of their religion. It's very easy. But in Judaism, it's a very tedious process. And the reason that when you convert, you become Jewish is because you're being reborn. One of the last things that happens in a conversion is you go to the mikveh. The mikveh is a body of purifying water. That doesn't mean that it's clean 100%, but it's pure uh, on a spiritual level. You go to the mikveh and you are reborn as a Jew. Your soul is renewed, is different, is reborn as a Jewish soul, as a soul of the chosen people. That's why we are commanded to accept converts as a part of our own. In the Kuzari, in this book, the rabbi discusses converts. The converts cannot be prophets. That's just because they're new. They are considered to be orphans because all of their blood relatives who are not Jewish are when it comes to Jewish law can't be considered as relatives because they don't have the Jewish soul. But the convert's children are 100% complete Jews. You're not supposed to remind a convert of their conversion because it might make them feel bad. It might make them feel different. But that's what it is. Once they take the red pill and become a part, see the matrix, now their soul is different. It's Jewish. It is a Jewish soul. That's where my distinction is that a non-Jewish soul is equal in value to a Jewish soul, but is not, and I'm using this term very loosely, special, is not part of the chosen people. So that's basically what I'm trying to say, summarized.
No, I think it's great. The one thing I gotta say, man, like you and I love that even though we have different opinions, right? We come together and we're not mad at each other. Like I'm so cool with you. You
Yeah.
my brother. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and we learn. Like I learn. I like when I hear what you're saying, when I'm saying, we learn, and that's part of life. And one thing too, a rabbi once told me about the matrix, right? The real world is when you go to Alam Haba, the world to come. That's the real world. Here, this is all the matrix. This is all temporary. Everything around you. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I like that. I like that. 100%, man. The Matrix is one of the greatest movies That's one of my favorite too. I ain't gonna lie, with
Yeah.
the action and all that. But yeah, I'm really happy, brother. I got to share my opinion about that. And my fans, thank you guys too for listening. I'm gonna wrap it up, brother.
Yeah.
This is the outlet to reality. The holdest podcast in Vegas and Chicago every Tuesday. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Cha-ching! Y'all know where to find me. I'm on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, the outlet to reality. My Snapchat is take one pass it, and my TikTok is Yaakov at Yaakov 28. Avi, my brother, thank you again for being here, man. And real quick, is there any way any of my Jewish friends that want to join that program after school on Mondays, can they still come if they're looking for a Jewish place to come?
Absolutely, yeah. And we have our Vegas chapter, and it's why it has chapters in most of the major cities in the U.S., including in Chicago. I know that in Vegas we meet every Monday night. So look up Las Vegas NCSY in Google. You can reach out to our phenomenal director. Shout out to Moshe Borvik.